Okay, thank you, Chairman, ladies and gentlemen. I think the title speaks for itself. In this presentation, I will briefly address the following. Can I just check, do we have a laser pointer? Or a slide organizer?
The pack you gave me, no, it's just got paper.
Okay, let's carry on.
Yeah, sorry about that.
Okay.
I've been rushing out.
Okay. In this presentation, I will address the topics as listed there: global diversity, amphibians in decline, threatened species in South Africa, conservation action, and the future. And this is basically the focus of our research group at Northwest University. And several, or actually all of the presentations in this session will be about aspects of amphibians, amphibian conservation, and so on. So, firstly, the global diversity. Today we have more than 7,000 frog species, or amphibians, of which the far majority are frogs. Thanks. 680 salamanders, and then 200 caecilians. Now, caecilian, as you can see there, looks like a big earthworm. That guy I photographed in the Amazon, and it's amazing to open this animal and realize that this is an amphibian. But anyway, that's not the topic for today. In South Africa, we have currently 159 species, and I say currently because it's changing with the weather. We don't have any salamanders or caecilians, but we have a very rich diversity of frogs. Now, globally, if we look at the distribution of frogs, we see the darker brown here indicate the more species areas. South Africa, moderate. The east coast of Madagascar, very high, and then the Amazon basin, extremely high. If we look at the biodiversity hotspots, we see that the hotspots are scattered all over the globe, and this is not only focused on amphibians. This is the general biodiversity hotspots. But the important thing for us is that, yes, we do have hotspots in southern Africa, and especially for amphibians, the Cape Floristic region is of importance. Now, if we look at habitat preferences, in general, forests are the predominant habitat where you get the biggest diversity, and in red I indicated the percentage of threatened species, and we see quite alarming that in forested areas and in flowing water quite a big percentage of species are currently threatened. But more about the threatened in the next session, and that is currently a third of frogs are globally threatened. And that makes amphibians today the most threatened vertebrate group. Now, this is very serious if we think that amphibians outlived the dinosaurs. They were here 350 million years ago, and they survived all those time, and now they're in trouble. So frog numbers are really in the decline at the moment, and there we see amphibians by far the most threatened, with critical endangered, and vulnerable categories, followed by mammals, and then birds, and then all the less important chordates. Okay, so today, sorry about that, I know you like birds.
Sorry, you finished.
Yeah. So today, around 160 species are likely to be extinct. And that is a serious problem there. 38 confirmed, 121 not seen for several years. But there are, every now and then we hear about a rediscovery of a species, so it's not all doom and gloom there, but 42% are in decline. And nearly 500 are listed as critically endangered. So there we have the pie chart, and to me, the most shocking of this pie chart is not the 7.8% critically endangered, but the 25% data deficient. Because that means we don't know. And that is the message that I want to convey today. We need more people looking at these friends in low places. Okay, so this is the distribution of the threatened species, and we also have some in southern Africa. So the next topic, the threatened species of South Africa. In South Africa we have a diverse group of amphibians, and in general we have an increase in species diversity from the southwest to the northeast, but an increase in endemicity towards the Cape Floristic region. And if we take a transect at this yellow line, we see rainfall at that line increase from below 100 to exceeding 1,000, from the arid west to the tropic east. And then if we look on that line at the species numbers, we have them down here. And we see a dramatic increase from a single specimen up here in Namibia to 35 plus there in the Swaziland area. So globally, this is the numbers for globally. This is for South Africa. So that's what I want to focus on at the moment. So we have 5 listed as critically endangered, 7 as endangered, 5 as vulnerable, and then near threatened and least concern. We in the fortunate position at the moment that we don't have any data deficient. That doesn't mean that we know everything about all the frogs, not far from it. There are actually basic species for which we are still discovering the basic information, or common species for which we are discovering the basic information. So the critically endangered are the rough moss frog, the table mountain ghost frog, pickersgill reed frog, micro frog, and amatola toad. And then followed by these guys, and this is a fairly recent update. Some frogs shifted to endangered, and others shifted from endangered up to critical, and some even shifted from least concern up to critically endangered. As we, or to endangered at least, as we know more, getting more information about frogs. And there are a couple new frogs that recently, over the past year, been described, and I won't be surprised if some of them, with the next assessment of next year, will jump into the endangered or even critically endangered categories. To give an example, if we look at those critically endangered ones, near Caledon we have the rough moss frog, Ortholeptus rugosa. Then Table Mountain, on the eastern slopes of Table Mountain, we have the Table Mountain ghost frog. It's only known from this area, nowhere else in the world. Closer to where we are at the moment, at the King Shaka Airport, we have the Mount Moreland wetland, and that's one of the best sites for this guy, the pickersgill reed frog. And through one of our group's research, Jean Tarrant, and she will give a presentation tomorrow, so I urge you to attend that one. She will give us the detail about, among others, this frog. And this is a spectacular little frog that hang out in little water depressions that, on the first impression, very often they invaded with alien plants, and you would say, oh, this is a good landfall site. Let's forget about it. But that's where this froggy hang out. So we need to know the individual species and their habitat preferences in order to work out conservation plans for them. Back to the Western Cape again. Right there we have the Kenilworth racecourse. Smack in the middle of the racecourse we have a little pond, and in this little pond we have this little frog, the micro frog. Microbatrachella capensis. It's hanging in there for dear life. But it also occurs down here, Betty's Bay, Kleinmond area. Very small little frog, a monotypic. in its genus. Okay, hogback. This frog hasn't been seen for 14 years until one of our group, again John, and co-workers found this frog 2 years ago. Last year again they found one or two, and so we know this frog is still out there, but very difficult to find, very small little brown toad, not a striking animal, and desperate that we know more about this frog. Conservation actions. Okay, what are the local threats in South Africa? The first one, the most important in my opinion, habitat destruction. We know, I don't have to tell you about habitat destruction, but it's from afforestation to urban development and so on. Invasive plants and invasive animals, a big problem. Recently we found this new invasive Australian crayfish in the northern parts of KwaZulu-Natal, and we're really worried about that because this thing is known in its natural habitat to take prey like tadpoles, and it's a newly introduced predator here, and we don't know what the long-term impact will be, but seriously or a serious risk there at least. Invasive plants, a big problem. Okay, then pollution. Pollution is a big problem everywhere where we have amphibians. They are very sensitive to pollution. They have got this very soft, permeable skin, so they survive in their nature by taking up moisture through their skin, and with that they take up pollutants, pesticides, insecticides, herbicides, and been shown that they are very sensitive to some of these chemical compounds. So the next time we rinse out our spray can after we applied Roundup, we should think twice before rinsing it out in the nearest stream, because that's literally what's happening. Next one, natural system modifications. For example, veld fires can have devastating effects on amphibians, especially your terrestrial froggies in the fynbush areas. Frogs are designed to survive natural catastrophes, it's true, but if natural or fires or so happen too frequently, it does affect the populations. And then diseases. Disease is one of those aspects where we know very little about, and that's also one of the topics that you will hear more about by some of our co-workers from our research group. Then the future. What needs to be done in South Africa is threatened species monitoring, and that's what's already happening. But we need more of that. So you will hear more in the rest of the session about, and tomorrow, about different monitoring techniques and so on. And then we also don't only need to focus on the species, threatened species, but also amphibian community monitoring. And then we have to do the research and report our findings. And we are busy not only with academic papers, but also with the social media. And we try to have a balanced approach there. At the moment, we're working on a new frog application for cell phones and tablets, and we're working towards a really user-friendly, very nice tool to use in the field. And then get public participation. In the Western Cape, again, some of our group members, Donovan and Jean and others, worked with the local community, and I was amazed by the enthusiasm of these people and by the scientific contribution they're making. So we should not underestimate that. Thank you.